Testing. Okay. Audio in, my brother. Sorry. And we are alive. We're alive and we're alive. Okay? Important stuff to be spoken about. I just had some issues with the internet, so it took a little while to get this started. But hey, welcome to the live. There's not enough for everyone. And it's a sad thought because, you know, genetically wired to be empathetic. It's part of our system, unless you're a psychopath. And even so, there's a bit of a thing of like, I'll do for you, so you do for me, kind of quid pro quo type thing that keeps us going. It's an evolutionary thing that you know it's a bit of a survival instinct. But there's not enough for everyone. Now, that's not to say that we should not give, but when you run a race, someone has to come first, someone has to come second, and someone has to come third, and that's where the Olympics stops. Caring, all right? Top three, and then whatever. Better luck in 4 years if you're still around. I know there was a gymnastic woman athlete that competed until she was quite late into her 50s, 60s, maybe, but it's quite rare. So there's not enough for everyone. And on top of that, opportunities are limited. An opportunity right now may never come along again. Life is like that. You know, you'll never have the same opportunity again, and you never know if you're going to get it again, which is insane, right? Which and the fact that people just don't take any opportunities is perhaps the biggest example of just how ignorant human beings are. And so there is just not enough for everyone. And that's why I used David Goggins in the thumbnail of the stream because, well, that man ran his way to success, you know? Ultra marathon, legs of steel, apparently, but as he would tell us, they've been broken many times. Hundreds of miles, running not for hours, but for days. That's how you do it. There is no other way. That is the only way. And, we train, we work out with the thought in the back of our mind, like, oh, we're doing this for our health. So, I'm going to train a certain way. I'm going to rest a certain way. I'm going to do things a certain way. So, the purpose of this training is to elongate my life, longevity, right? So, that's why you train a certain way. So, when you look at someone like Goggins, you project your own ideas of what fitness is or what running is for. And, we see running as a form of exercise, as a way to get from one place to another quickly or fast. But he sees it differently. He sees it as a challenge against his inner bitch. That's what he calls it. Pardon my French. And that completely changes what you're supposed to do with running. What you do with running changes. Running goes from being about health to, let's see, how far I can go before I can't move anymore, and then let me do it again right after, you know? So it's quite an interesting way to look at life, I think, because you can look at it, you can take that perspective and map it onto anything else. What can you do, right? That's the limitation in life. What can you do? And that idea of what you can do is what creates the parameter of what you will do. And so, you know, I might run 5K, I might run 5 kilometers, and my joints hurt. My ankles are weak, they're dust. But I do occasionally go for the 5K just because, it's necessary. And, you know, just because my ankles hurt doesn't mean running doesn't need to be done, right? So it's probably causing accumulated damage on my ankles every time I go for a run. But is that why I'm doing it? Is any sort of running going to occur if I just try to elongate, reach for longevity with my ankle health, while perhaps my heart suffers? And I guess the point here is sometimes you have to let your ankle break. Sometimes you have to endure pain that may cause some sort of long term damage to achieve another goal. And that's what makes things interesting. That's what makes life interesting. You know? Who cares if I get pain in my ankles? It doesn't matter. Does it matter that I can run with pain and perhaps risk long term damage, to the point where every step feels like, you know, if I land on this wrong, I might break something. That's that's interesting. And that's what makes it fun, right? That's what allows you to take a piece of the pie, because there's not enough for everyone. There's a not enough. There's not enough pie for everyone. There's not enough cake. The infinite cake is a lie. And so part of understanding that there's not enough for everyone is understanding that to be one of the few who can take a piece, you have to be willing to sacrifice something. And that could be anything. It could be your health, it could be your time, it could be your attention, it could be anything. But without luck in the picture, if you wish to not rely on luck in life, then that is the equation. You minus something equals ascension, I guess. Rising above. Sometimes you just have to brace the pain. Like, if you have trouble focusing on something, like I find it incredibly difficult to read books. My attention just wavers. I'll get a good chunk in, like I'll read up to a third of the book, and then my attention just, and then like I'll read a page, and it's like I can't comprehend it. And it's one of the reasons I relate to Goggins with, is because he mentions um, that he goes through the same thing. But he says, obviously, his is a much more of a his is much more drastic. I'd argue. I got it easy. I think, but his philosophy is the same with running as it is with reading a book or studying. And that's where I think the quote from Miyamoto Musashi is so prevalent. It's like, if you can learn how to do one thing generally, like if you know how one thing works, you can then apply that to anything. And so with Goggins, he's able to switch that part of his brain into gear where it's like so painful to take even a step further, but he'll take that step. He applies that same logic, same process, same mental fortitude to reading. And it's like, all as painful as it is on the brain to focus on something and comprehend it, when all you want to do is throw that book away, that's the equation again. He's suffering that pain, you know? And sometimes in certain situations, not perhaps reading a book, but in certain situations, it could be quite a traumatic emotional experience. But you know, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder. He missed his father's funeral because he didn't want to be distracted from his goal, and that still bothers him to this day. He knew that it would emotionally ruin his prep for a show that he needed to get. It was important for him, but his father died, and he had to choose between going to the funeral or just stay focused on his prep and get his, get working. And who's to say that if he went back to, I believe his hometown is Thal, Thall, something like that, in Austria. Who knows? Maybe we someone else would have been the Terminator, right? That's the limitation of opportunity. And the sacrifices you choose to make are your own to decide. And I think that's the beauty of self accountability, because this type of thinking makes you realize that it's all on you, and it always was. And it'll never be anyone else's fault. It's not his Arnold's father's fault that he died when he did. It's not anyone's fault that they wanted him at the funeral. It would have probably been nice that he was. Probably would have been a good thing. But he wasn't hurting anyone by not going. Perhaps his mother. um, and I watched his documentary, and it's kind of strange because he kind of says that he's okay with it, but there's like this look on his face where it's like it's still something that bothers him. Maybe it doesn't represent in the emotional way that perhaps a viewer would think, but it is something that irks in the back of the mind. Like perhaps there was some doubt there about whether what he did was right or wrong. But that's the price he paid. David Goggins did ultra marathons, became world famous, broke his legs dozens of times, approximately. I'm making it up. I don't know how many times exactly he broke his bones, but that's how it is. He lost what, a few 100 pounds of fat in an insane amount of time just so he could, become a Navy SEAL, get into training. Sacrifice. He sacrificed his health so that he could lose the weight so that he could get in, because losing weight that fast has incredibly damaging effects on your endocrine system. Your hormones get all shot up, and it can take years before they get back to like a nice healthy range, like your hormones and whatnot. You know, like I did a starvation diet for reasons, and that affected my health quite a bit. And I probably am still suffering from that. You know, and before that, I did a massive bulk diet to because I was incredibly skinny. I just ate so much. I was bone. You could see my ribs, and I ate so much that within I want to say a year and a half, I gained like 20 kilos, and it was like a nice 20 kilos. It was a good 20 kilos. After that, because of the awful dietary habits I had, when I was injured, when I would have like a sickness, my capacity for food had increased, but I would be having time off, and that made it difficult to maintain a good level of weight. And slowly over the next 3 or 4 years, I began gaining more and more weight. And then after that, I tried a starvation diet, and I lost 10 kilos. That affected my health quite poorly. So it's like not recommended, but unfortunately, that's the only kind of mindset that I have. I'm not a moderate person when it comes to that kind of stuff. Though I'm quite moderate. I'm a moderate person, I swear. Um, Not radical at all, in case you're worried. And I guess that's what I'm saying. Those people were able to use that thing in their life, that thing that they were able to do, and they mapped it onto every single decision they ever made. That was important. Let's you know, I'm casting a blanket off it. I'm not saying their lives have been perfect, but that's the thing that led them to success. And it's like most people have that thing at one point or another. They've done a difficult thing. They've sacrificed something small or big for the sake of getting a piece of the pie. And piece of the pie is a metaphor for success, and success is subjective. So just do what you can, you know, because there is nothing else, and there's not enough for everyone. Dubai is a great example. I'm out here on a balcony on. Yes, technically, this is a skyscraper. I'm on a balcony on a skyscraper, and I see all around me daily. Day laborers brought in buses, and they just work all day in the blazing heat. And me, I find it hard to be in the sun too long. So it's incredibly strange, because they've got to work to feed their families. And I've got an AC right here, so capacity for success is different in others. And, for them, success is perhaps just making sure their family doesn't go hungry. And that's life. That's more than enough. And so with that comes a bitter pill to swallow. A bittersweet pill is that as much as there is in the world, trillions, billions, whatever, as much as there is in the world, in the universe, it'll never be enough. And if you don't get a piece of the pie, at least be grateful for what you do have. I butchered that, but if you don't get a piece of the pie, if you don't get a piece of the cake, at least be grateful for what you do have, because there's nothing else and there's not enough for everyone. I think I made a pretty solid point. Good metaphors in there, good storytelling, good examples, historical examples. It's nice. I like that. So, yeah, I've been outreaching some interesting responses. Let's see how they go. Spoke to someone, they wanted a CV, and it's like, you want a CV for this? Okay. So I wrote one, sent it off, see what they say. And yeah, let's see how that goes. It's going to keep going. There's obviously plenty to do and plenty directions in the same direction. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. Still, it's just a grind. We're almost at day 100, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going. Maybe not with the lives daily. I think I might take a break from the lives. But I've learned a lot these past 89 days. And it's been an intense sort of really quick learning, which has been hard to grasp sometimes. And but yeah, no, I don't think I would have learned it this fast unless I'd done this, and unless I'd been in this position and done the lives. And there, the answer is really simple. Okay, the answer is really simple. You just have to accept the answer. That's what I'm realizing. The answer is really simple, and quite honestly, the answer is the same thing for everything in life. And all you have to do is accept it. And you put your head down, and as much as it hurts your brain or hurts your legs or whatever, you just keep going. That is the answer. There is nothing else. There's no secret. There's no hidden knowledge. There's no anything. There's nothing. Everything's guess. Everything's just, deduction. It's induction. It's just whatever best logic you can create in the moment. The only thing that's real is that if you keep going, eventually something happens. And that's the only truth about life. and and you only really understand that. Honestly, I don't know what it takes to understand that. I just know that eventually you understand it. And yeah, that's it's a good thing, I guess. You know, because if everyone could understand it so easily, and if there was a way to understand it, then everybody would get a piece of the pie. Everybody would get a piece of cake, but they can't, because it takes It takes going blindly until you do realize, right? That's the hard part. You have to at one point go blindly, and then eventually you realize why. And it goes, oh, okay. It's like I was doing that, but I didn't know why I was doing it. And now you know, and it all just makes sense. And it's like the world around you, the fog begins settling, and I'd argue the fog never really disappears. There's always a hint of a fog, and eventually, if there is so little fog, you get bored of not being in the fog. You end up branching out. You want things that have fog, so that it's interesting to do it. Right? Am I making sense? That's where the boredom of success comes from. I was watching Succession, and one of the characters, I think Alexander Skarsgård, his character. I said his name weird. Skarsgård. Alexander Skarsgård. Skarsgård. His character says success is easy. It's just analysis plus capital plus execution. And it's failure that's interesting. And the only reason success is perhaps in your mind more interesting and failure less interesting is because you've faced failure more than you've faced success. But once you have enough success, you realize that it is the failure, actually, that is more interesting. And that comes from, I feel like I've said it enough times, comes from just keeping on going. Keeping on going and having gratitude regardless. That's it. Well, that's enough for me. And did we hit 30 minutes? We hit 28 minutes 30. So we've got a minute and a half. Hey, man, it's whatever. We are here. Who go on the balcony, chilling, trying to be good people, doing good things, infecting our reality by adding value to the universe and doing good things and being good people. That is the mantra. We provide value. Say it with me. We provide value. That's why we have like economic crashes, right? We're going through a crash right now, and things are about to get rough. But that's where crashes happen, right? Where a system of unequal exchange occurs, and it occurs too many times. And eventually, reality just snaps back, and it's that snap that causes disruption, and eventually things will settle, and that's the silver lining. But c'est la vie. In any case, be good, do good things, and subscribe, and good things will happen. So I'm gonna go to sleep now, and have a good night, or good morning, or good day, regardless of where you are. I'll see you tomorrow.